but oh Lord, why don't we?
I'm about to make an admission to Paul McCartney, my guest here in London. I used to make fun of his haircut years ago when I was growing up in South Central Los Angeles in Watts, a predominantly black neighborhood, and I'll make that admission right now. But we first...
Why, Bobby? Why did you do it?
I don't know. I don't know what got into me. Call it the times.
Just this time, I'll let you off.
Okay.
If you ever do it again.
I will never do it again. But when the Beatles appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show in my neighborhood...
How old were you first? Let's
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you.
Age around here.
No, I'm not going to tell you. Well, no, I was a little bit older. But in a predominantly black neighborhood, it was like, they all look, we all went to school the next day and said, they all look like Mo Howard and the Three Stooges. They were kind of goofy looking. Yeah. And then we looked at the footage. There were very few blacks in the screaming audiences at that time.
Yeah, you better believe it,
yeah. Did you think about that?
That wasn't our fault.
Yeah, well.
That was how it was in America at the time. And, yeah. That's what I always kind of say to my kids, you know, one of the things I love is being part of history.
Yeah.
Because in the 60s, we came to America when Martin Luther King was a live voice still.
Yes.
When Little Rock had only recently happened, all the Arkansas, the whole sort of thing, you know, had very recently gone down. And here we were kind of young men with thoughts about all of this, you know. And it was, it's amazing to think that, it's all happened and that now Martin Luther is now dead, he's like more like a saint, but that his word has come to be, you know. It's amazing just to think that we were actually there when it hadn't happened.
Yes.
And now, I mean, even that they were arguing last year about whether there should be a national day for him. I mean, do you believe this stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just strange. But I mean, I like the feeling of having seen how it was and thinking, because I mean, we had a big sort of problem in Manila once. Now it turns out it was Marcos that kind of, we sort of snubbed the president of Manila, you know. We're quite happy now. It's like living history now. It was Marcos. Great. Good snub.
Yeah,
you
very
know,
smart.
So I say, I forgot your original question.
No, but you pretty much.
We wondered about that. Guys on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah, we thought you looked kind of goofy, and we didn't see any blacks in the screaming crowds. But then later on, like I know when I heard "Got to Get You Into My Life," I went, yeah, it's kind of like. You know, that's a little bit of our Motown type sound. And then I remember going to school one day after I'd heard "Hey Jude," and that was the talk in the hallways. Did you hear those guys do "Hey Jude"? It was as if our souls had been taken up to another level.
Whoa.
It was just
Steady,
like it. Now, how did you feel that same way when you saw and heard Jimi Hendrix perform some of your?
Oh yeah.
Was that the Bag of Nails?
Jimmy, yeah. I was just thinking about it the other day because they're doing a program on it over here. Yeah, we used to go down to this club. I mean, first of all, we used to talking about black artists. Whenever we used to get asked, you know, as we were kids over there, these sort of mop tops, they used to call us, you know, strange look for America. Well, we used to get asked, you know, what's your favorite kind of music? We were always like turning everyone on. It was Marvin Gaye, the Smokey Robinson, the Miracles, and we were really heavily influenced by black acts, as most of the British groups are. It's black music. If you want to go right back to Africa, fine. But I mean, it's more American.
More American
black American music. You know, it was exactly what we bought, what we copied, and what turned us on. It was what we were trying to be like. Okay, the hair wasn't.
Yeah.
But
that's
I mean,
for damn sure.
That's for damn sure. But you know, the thing is, I think gradually, because the music, people could see that we were kind of turned on and that we were going to do things like Get Into My Life and strange, sort of more soul-y orientated things, that I think then we did start to get a black audience, you know, in amongst that. I wouldn't ever say kind of predominantly black, but I mean, it didn't seem to matter, which is the way I like it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter. I mean, the nice thing for us, though, being a musician, you know, you meet lots of black guys, and it's like, black? Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's his name, or it's how he played, you know? It's really not anything to do with, you know, what his skin color is, you know. So I think you can be, in music, you can be fairly liberal, kind of so-called, you know, about that fairly early on.
No, at the Bag of Nails, that's where you saw Jimi Hendrix perform.
So let me tell you.
Okay.
I was there down the Bag of Nails, and I was just having a drink. It was a club I used to go to, and I'd go after we'd finished recording or after we'd finished a gig or something. It was a nice late-night club you could unwind at. So I was sitting down there, and the live act came on, a little stage, He kind of gave him half a look. So there's a few people, three guys shambling on with a lot of these big amps behind him. You know, just, I wonder who this is. And I carried on talking. You know. And he plugged his Marshalls in, and he'd never heard anything as loud. No one had ever dared to be as loud. I think that was the first thing. It was a and he didn't, at that time, he didn't do any of the teeth stuff. That kind of developed as a show thing later, which I think he didn't really like. Because I knew him a little, Jimmy, and he didn't like to do all this, or the guitar behind the thing. Because he was a true guitarist, a true fine guitar player. Trained on the circuits in America, trained on all the clubs, having to play with all the guys, having to get it right. He came over here, this huge liberating thing of being in Britain in the 60s, particularly for a black guy, to back home, he couldn't look like that. Around the streets of somewhere where he came from, you know. You know that better than I do.
Oh, sure.
But over here, everyone was hanging, you know, getting perms and getting groovy and the other thing. And he was fantastic. I say, everyone just stopped what they were doing and just started to watch. And like, that was it. I think that might have been his first gig in London.
Did he play Sgt. Pepper?
No, well, that was another time. I then followed him around the club. So we played at another club called Blazes, where I was fortunate enough to see him. See, the great thing was, it wasn't as big as this. So his noise in this small space was, you know, talk about your soul transcending. It was that.
It transcended.
But he's still my favorite, old Jim.
Listen, I want to talk about Flowers in the Dirt and about marriage and about Linda and stuff like that there, okay? All sorts of stuff. And people will call Paul later on. Okay, good. All right, now we're going to call your attention to a little commercial break, and I'll return here at London with Paul McCartney on VH1. That's Paul. I'm Dr. Robert. It's Paul.
Hello.